A video showing how the Simpsons have predicted the real-life event in 2006 is going viral on social media.
On Fox, The Simpsons has been a cornerstone of modern comedy, with numerous shocking moments that actually came to life. 34 seasons and 750 episodes later, we cannot tell what's next to expect from this bizarre TV show. In a world where reality can be stranger than fiction, jokes pitched by the writers of The Simpsons have transcended the screen in fascinating ways, finding their place in the real world. Many whispers and controversies have come about, as some believe time travelers with the secret of our world might have contributed to the writing of the gripping TV show. However, the truth remains shrouded in mystery. Join us as we attempt to solve the puzzle behind the Simpsons Conspiracy and unravel the answer to the burning question: how does the show predict the future? History of The Simpsons. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, came up with the idea for the show while waiting in an office. He gave the characters names inspired by his family, with Bart as a substitute for his own name. The family made their debut as shorts on The Tracy Ullman Show on April 19, 1987. Then, in 1989, these shorts evolved into the full-fledged series The Simpsons, which first aired on December 17, 1989. Since then, the show has brought us over 750 episodes, spanning 34 seasons and even a movie released in 2007. The show stirred up controversy right from the get-go. The main character causing all the fuss back then was Bart, and he seemed to get away with his mischievous antics without much consequence. This didn't sit well with some parents and conservatives who thought he was setting a lousy example for kids. In fact, it got so heated that even the president at the time, George H.W. Bush, chimed in, saying they needed to strengthen American families to be more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons.
To make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons.
To top it off, some U.S. public schools went as far as banning the Simpsons merchandise and T-shirts, especially the ones with Bart and the tagline, "Underachiever and proud of it, man." However, despite the bans, the Simpsons merchandise still sold like hotcakes and raked in a whopping $2 billion in revenue during the first 14 months of sales. Predictions from The Simpsons. Now, there have been many more conspiracy theories that claim The Simpsons can predict the future, and to be honest, some of the episodes of the show have given quite accurate predictions of the future. Let's start with one of the most famous predictions from The Simpsons. The second time they glimpsed into the future, Lisa was portrayed as the President of the United States. During a cabinet meeting, she casually remarked, "We inherited quite the budget crunch from President Trump."
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
At first, this seemed like a reference to Trump's run as a Reform Party candidate. However, it gained even more attention when Trump actually won the presidency in 2016. The week after the election, the recurring chalkboard gag on the show humorously read, "Being right sucks." This line became even more noteworthy when Trump announced his bid for the 2024 election, coincidentally matching the year The Simpsons had originally predicted, as producer Al Jean pointed out on Twitter. Furthermore, in the 14th episode of the third season, there's another interesting prediction. This scene, which initially aired just days before Super Bowl 26, featured Lisa accurately predicting that the Washington Redskins would win. The following year, the show's creators decided to replace the team names with those of the actual Super Bowl competitors, and once again, they got it right by calling the Dallas Cowboys the winners. This trend of redubbing and getting it right continued over the next few years, culminating in yet another spot-on prediction when they foresaw the San Francisco 49ers beating the San Diego Chargers in Super Bowl 29. Here's even one rare instance where The Simpsons not only predicted something but also influenced it. In a quick joke, Bully Dolph writes the memo "Beat Up Martin" on his Apple Newton, which hilariously translates to "Eat Up Martha" due to the PDA's lousy handwriting recognition. Sources suggest that years later, when Apple was developing the iPhone keyboard, their employees were well aware of the importance of getting this feature right. They even used the phrase "Eat up, Martha" amongst themselves as a reminder of how crucial accurate text input was going to be. Lisa Goes Gaga is often considered one of the show's worst episodes, too. In this episode, the famous pop star herself, Lady Gaga, pays a visit to Springfield and helps Lisa with her self-esteem problems. Fast forward to 2017 when Gaga rocked the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of people couldn't help but notice that her wire-based, spark-filled stunt during the performance looked eerily similar to one of her outfits from that very episode. There have been so many more predictions made in the show, and an even more recent one is the case of the submersible. In this episode, Homer thinks he's found his long-lost biological father, Mason Fairbanks.
Homer's biological father is Mason Fairbanks.
They go on an underwater adventure in their submersibles to hunt for treasure in a sunken ship called Piso Mojado. However, things take a dramatic turn when Homer gets stuck in coral and his oxygen levels start to drop dangerously low. He loses consciousness and wakes up 3 days later in a hospital. Now, fast forward to June 2023, and many fans noticed some eerie similarities between this episode and a real-life incident. There was an Ocean Gate submersible carrying 5 passengers on an expedition to explore the Titanic's wreckage at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The submersible, which set out on June 19th with enough oxygen for 96 hours, mysteriously lost contact with the company and hasn't been located till now. There were even rumors going around on TikTok claiming that The Simpsons predicted Queen Elizabeth II's death. However, that one is based on a fake image. In this doctored picture, you've got a cartoon version that looks like the Queen, lying in a coffin. Above the body, there's a cartoon plaque with the text, Elizabeth II, 1926 to 2012. Ever since Queen Elizabeth's passing on September 8, there have been tons of videos popping up on TikTok about it. But the scene was never part of the actual show. It was a case of people blowing up The Simpsons' so-called predictive powers. This doesn't mean the previous predictions were untrue, though. Concerning this, some people have been downright spooked by how often the Simpsons team seems to predict the future. It's not just die-hard conspiracy theorists who've taken this theory seriously. It's gone mainstream, with media outlets like the BBC, The Hollywood Reporter, The New York Times, and the Chicago Tribune jumping on the bandwagon. They love to compile lists of these uncanny and mind-blowing predictions, especially when yet another one comes true. This has brought up questions about whether the members of the Simpsons team are time travelers who dropped by to tease us with these sneak peeks, only to dazzle us a few years down the road. But how true could that be? The Simpsons has an edge over other shows because of this. This vague answer hasn't been able to quench people's curiosity about how the predictions happened, and we've been on a quest to find an answer that truly satisfies us. After digging into the numbers, we discovered a surprising explanation that eclipses all the others, one that's been mostly overlooked in the main narrative. This discovery just highlights the hilarious quirks of our reality and how our brains make sense of the world. Even mainstream news outlets have been pondering the puzzle, and they've come up with what seems to be the simplest explanation. This idea stemmed from a quote by an assistant professor of mathematics at the University at Albany, and here's the logic behind it. The Simpsons, with its impressive 34 seasons and a whopping 120,000 jokes, averages about 8.54 jokes per minute. They argue that it's just a numbers game, with a success rate of roughly 1.6. To put it in perspective, they compared The Simpsons to Star Trek, which also has a similar number of episodes. Star Trek boasts over 760 television episodes and 13 feature films, and yes, it has its share of predictions too. If you can think of any show with over 700 episodes, you'll see a pattern arising. These lengthy shows naturally have more opportunities to make accurate predictions, and some might chalk it all up to sheer luck. That might sound a bit disappointing, but hang on. There's more to the story. While the theory hinges solely on the fact that both shows have a similar episode count and a similar number of accurate predictions, we'll discover that it's not entirely accurate. There are a few other shows and even movies that happened to have predicted the future. Supernatural, 15 seasons and 327 episodes show with its focus on the mystical and supernatural, wasn't expected to predict something as realistic as a major real-world event. However, it seems that the show surprisingly foresaw one of the biggest news events of 2020. In a Season 5 episode, one of the actors gets a glimpse of the world 5 years into the future, and what he sees is quite eerie. He finds that public events have been canceled and the streets are eerily empty. When he discovered why, he found that it was because a virus, starting with the letter C, had wreaked havoc. This episode aired in 2009, a full 11 years before the COVID-19 pandemic brought the world to a standstill. What's even more convincing is that Supernatural was set to conclude in 2020, and if you needed more evidence, the character Dean is even advised to stock up on toilet paper, just as many people did at the beginning of the pandemic. Beyond this, there have been several other shows that predict what happens at a point in time. Admittedly, The Simpsons have made more predictions than any other, but just accepting that the reason is because it's running over a long period of years feels incomplete. It seems like something is missing, and it's only half of the explanation. For instance, in Star Trek, they predicted devices similar to flip phones, and they had the Scotty beam me up concept long before we had flat-screen TVs. It's easy to brush these off as lucky coincidences. The Simpsons has had its moments with video calls and autocorrect too. Now here's where the coincidence explanation comes into play. These surface-level predictions don't deserve all the hype and screaming headlines. You won't find folks discussing them on Reddit or in conspiracy forums. Those forums tend to focus on much more elaborate and intricate predictions, things that are alarmingly sophisticated. So the reason the narrative of it being just a numbers game seems only like half the truth is because while it's the main theory, there's more to the detailed predictions. There's a particular one that cannot just be written off as a mere coincidence. Scientists have recently been on the hunt to prove the existence of the Higgs boson, a hypothetical subatomic particle that's believed to be the source of mass in the universe. It's a big deal in the world of physics, and an experiment at the Large Hadron Collider near Geneva is set to resume, in the hopes of catching a glimpse of this so-called God particle. Back in 2012, CERN scientists discovered the Higgs boson, and it completely shook up our understanding of the universe, especially in the realm of quantum physics. They announced the discovery of this brand-new particle. Now, it had no electrical charge, a fleeting existence, and it behaved exactly as the Higgs boson should, according to the theory. It also has a spin of 0, and it's the only particle with that spin number. It's a pretty wild concept because there has been nothing like it in nature before then. It's a key piece of the puzzle that helps us understand why we and everything around us have mass. It taps into our natural curiosity about the universe and its evolution in ways you might not have imagined. Scientists even believe that without the Higgs, there'd be no gravity, and maybe not even a universe. Now, rewind 15 years to 1998. In an episode, Homer scribbled this equation on a blackboard, and to the viewers, it looked like gibberish. No one knew the Higgs boson's mass at the time. Some weren't even sure it existed. But that equation predicted the mass of the elusive God particle so accurately that it was eerily close to this breakthrough in understanding mass. And this was a whole 15 years before they actually discovered it. This scene is, without a doubt, the most specific prediction that The Simpsons has ever made, and it's surprisingly spot on. Beyond that, they made predictions 17 years before we faced a massive budget crisis under President Trump, 19 years before Disney bought Fox, and even foresaw the censoring of the Statue of David 26 years in advance. We can only conclude that while this is not some deep state conspiracy, it's also not just pure chance. The show's executive producer, Al Jean, has been involved with The Simpsons since its inception in 1989. And he claims that they somehow intentionally make these predictions. Now, another of those events that got the Simpsons conspiracy theorists all worked up was when the show supposedly predicted the tragic 9/11 terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers in 2001. They point to an episode called New York City versus Homer Simpson, which aired back in 1997. In that episode, the family buys a guidebook to New York City, and on the cover, there's a price tag that reads $9 right next to a picture of the Twin Towers. Some folks say this visually resembles 9/11 and that it's another one of the show's eerie predictions, which is quite spooky. Al Jean insisted that this is purely coincidental, though, and it's not some grand prediction from the show's creators. People are still buzzing online about the 42 other predictions that The Simpsons got right, but 12 of them are just more coincidences. However, getting 30 predictions right is also statistically significant. When you compare it to other shows like Star Trek, Futurama, or South Park, The Simpsons stands out. So despite what everyone thinks, there's more to it. How The Simpsons is able to predict the future. Research done by some scientists showed an impressive panel of award-winning writers and producers of The Simpsons. These people hold a remarkable array of degrees in fields like mathematics, computer science, and philosophy, among others. You could even assemble panels of different kinds of Simpsons nerds. Al Jean, the producer of the TV show, graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Then there's J. Stewart Burns, who graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's degree in mathematics too. He even wrote a senior thesis called The Structure of Group Algebra before grabbing his master's degree at UC Berkeley. Also, a co-developer at Futurama, David X. Cohen, brought some serious academic chops. He graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's degree in physics and later earned a master's degree in computer science from UC Berkeley. Let's not forget about Jeff Westbrook, who majored in physics and the history of science and went on to earn a PhD in computer science from Princeton University. His doctoral thesis was about algorithms and data structures for dynamic graph algorithms. Afterward, he even served as an associate professor in Yale University's Department of Computer Science. And then there's Ken Keeler, who's no slouch either. He graduated summa cum laude in applied mathematics and then went the extra mile by grabbing a PhD in the same field. His doctoral thesis was titled Map Representations and Optimal Encoding for Image Segmentation. Matt Warburton, another writer on the team, got his bachelor's degree in cognitive neuroscience, and these are just the Harvard graduates on the team. Bill Odenkirk, for example, went all the way to earn a PhD in inorganic chemistry from the University of Chicago. Surprisingly, even the longtime music composer, Alf Clausen, started out studying mechanical engineering with a side of math at North Dakota State University before deciding to follow his artistic passion. This exposure connects the team to the cutting edge of knowledge. With that kind of intellectual firepower on board, it's almost like they had a crystal ball for predicting the future. And as we all know, there are a million jokes about everything, even the US presidents. In the diverse group of writers and producers, everyone tried to squeeze all their knowledge into the show, which is quite unlike most others. Back to the equation for the Higgs boson, they could have just used random Greek symbols, but they went for genuine physical constants. When combined in the right way, these constants gave the massive Higgs boson that seemed plausible. They then decided that every time they put math into it, they will make sure it's not just right, but accurate. This mentality went beyond just math for the Simpsons writers. The equations are well thought out, and they don't appear on the screen by chance. Other data shows that it takes about 13 years for the Simpsons' predictions to come true on average. And if you look closely, you'll see a pattern emerge, one that aligns with the user ratings of each episode. The show is essentially a satire of American culture. They're poking fun at us, and that's the whole point. Good writing is socially aware, politically savvy, and scientifically informed. The writers aim to make it not only funnier for themselves, but also more engaging for us. And one thing about humor, and maybe even philosophy and math, is that once you're done with it, it often seems obvious. Take a 2001 episode where Homer tried to prevent his local baseball team, the Isotopes, from moving to Albuquerque. 2 years later, Albuquerque's minor league team was named the Isotopes after a citywide vote. The team's president even admitted that the name came from the series. It goes to show that sometimes it's not like the show predicted the future but influenced it. Predictions we don't want to come true. Though many predictions from The Simpsons have come true till now, people are wondering if some other ones will still happen in the future. And we don't want some of them to happen, like the prediction in the Treehouse of Horror episode. It started all innocently, with Homer and Bart going Christmas tree shopping on Halloween of all days. Homer, in his usual goofy style, joked about how everything in America happens too early. But here's the twist. He opened up his Bender costume to reveal an Ivanka 2028 badge, and he was chuckling away to himself. And just like that, the scene cut, and they never mentioned it again. Now, the big question is if that could be another one of those Simpsons predictions that actually comes true. There was also another one in this same episode where Homer tried to use images of celebrities and ads without their permission, but things took a dark turn. He accidentally took out both princes and even Neil Armstrong, who, strangely enough, had already passed away. And just when you think it couldn't get any weirder, he was also responsible for George Clooney taking a tumble in some quicksand on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, if you're thinking about the fate of those first two celebs in this episode, yeah, it's veering into creepy and eerie territory. And we are not sure if this is truly a death prediction. As our technology keeps advancing, so do our cars. We have the snazzy electric ones now, and they're making waves in the market, probing that we are taking solid steps toward cleaner energy sources. But here's where The Simpsons comes in. In their 582nd episode, Lisa went all-genius inventor and created a solar-powered car. And that's something that's currently in the works at places like MIT. In the show, Lisa decided to put her solar car to the test in an alternative energy derby race. But just when she was about to zoom past the finish line, a dust blimp swoops in, blocking the sun and bringing her to a screeching halt. Now, you might think it's just a goofy coincidence, but could big corporations be plotting ways to keep renewable energy from disrupting their hold on the market? We never can tell. An even scarier prediction was the one in this episode from Season 6, where they talk about the dreaded World War III. Thankfully, those predictions haven't come true, and let's all cross our fingers that it stays that way. But here's the thing. There's another prediction in a 1995 episode called Lisa's Wedding. In this one, Lisa visits a psychic who spills the beans about her life 15 years down the line. That was supposed to be 2010, which was 12 years ago for us. But we can't take any chances on this one. In that episode, when Lisa's fiancé Hugh leaves, they all head to Moe's bar with Homer. Moe, being Moe, sarcastically hands Hugh a beer and tells him it was the U.S. that saved Britain during World War II. But Hugh, quick on his feet, says, "Yes, but you guys saved us in World War III." And Moe admits that's true. Now, as much as we'd like to say this idea sounds absurd, could The Simpsons be onto something here? We can only hope they got this one completely wrong. There's also the episode about mind control through music, which is a tale as old as time. In a 2001 episode called New Kids on the Block, Bart got the chance to join a boy band with his friends Nelson, Ralph, and Milhouse. While the action seems innocent, their single contains a subliminal message, even in Neo Jersey, hidden in the chorus. Lisa, always the sharp one, sniffs out something fishy and discovers that the manager is a Navy lieutenant. It turned out popular music has been a recruitment tool for the military. This one is unlikely to happen and might just be like the rumors about playing records backward to hear the devil in the 90s, but with a show like The Simpsons, we can't keep our guard down. What to expect from The Simpsons now? Even with all these anticipated and terrifying predictions, we are yet to come to the end of this show. Fox has officially renewed The Simpsons for both seasons 35 and 36. When a network renews a show for multiple seasons like this, you know they have a ton of confidence in it. And it's for good reasons. Matt Selman, a longtime writer and current co-showrunner for The Simpsons, shared on Twitter that seasons 35 and 36 will bring us a total of 51 episodes. 7 of these episodes are holdovers from season 34, and the other 44 will be created in the upcoming production cycles. This means that by the end of the 2 seasons, we'll have a total of 801 Simpsons episodes to enjoy, and maybe more predictions. What's even more exciting is that after the creative and experimental episodes in season 34, the show received a boost in critical reception. So there's a lot of anticipation building up for season 35. However, The Simpsons faces a unique challenge as a victim of its own success. And this isn't just because it's pretty tough to keep coming up with fresh ideas. Back in 1989, when it first hit the scene, it was a breath of fresh air in the world of animation. It was a quirky show that blended sight gags, sitcom-style plots, and a healthy dose of cartoon zaniness, much different from the style at that time. This huge success set a very high standard for The Simpsons that current episodes may not hit as well as before. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been progress. In the last couple of decades, the show has seen its episode run time shrink from a full 24 minutes to 22 minutes or less. That's quite a drop for a sitcom, forcing some tough decisions about what stays in the episodes. Al Jean decided to pack these episodes with jokes and gags, sometimes sacrificing longer storylines. The writers, however, felt the need to make room for character development as they navigated this shorter format. In the season 34 premiere titled Habeas Tortoise, for example, Homer leads a group of conspiracy theorists on a quest to find a lost turtle. In the past, you might expect the episode to conclude with a barrage of jokes poking fun at the character's absurdity, but this time, it took a different turn, offering a more thoughtful portrayal of people seeking community and meaning in the digital age. Matt Selman also views the show as having a Groundhog Day quality, where each episode begins with the characters forgetting what happened before. This lack of strict continuity frees the writers to explore unconventional ideas. One episode that embodies this spirit is Lisa the Boy Scout. In this mind-bending, postmodern twist, hackers disrupt the episode to showcase supposed deleted scenes that would challenge the audience's understanding of the Simpsons universe. These scenes include Carl discovering his best friend Lenny was a figment of his imagination, and the revelation that Martin, Bart's nerdy classmate, is actually a 36-year-old father of 3 with a rare aging disorder that makes him look 10. It's an episode that goes all out in its wild humor, and Carolyn Omina, a seasoned writer, attributes this creative spark to a new approach where everyone pitches bad ideas, allowing the show to push its boundaries in surprising ways. Finally, it looks like the show is evolving with time, just like every other thing. If this means there will be more or less prediction games, we can't tell yet. But we'll enjoy the show for as long as it's airing and hope that if there are more predictions, they will be good ones. For now, we can confirm that despite all the theories, The Simpsons isn't some mystical predictor of the future. It's just the result of incredibly intricate writing. Statistics can get pretty odd, thereby leading to truly absurd coincidences. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.